Hello again, my dears, and a heartfelt welcome back to Dear Grandma. It warms my heart to have you join me once more. Today, I wanted to talk about something that has been on my mind, and something that I know many of us, at one time or another, have wrestled with. That persistent waking up in the stillness of the night, often as the clock ticks towards that quiet, early hour of 3 o'clock in the morning. Recently, my dear friend Eleanor, a truly remarkable woman with a spirit as bright as sunshine, has been quite troubled by this. She'd often call me, her voice tinged with a bit of frustration, sharing how she drifts off to sleep quite peacefully, only to find herself wide awake in the pre-dawn quiet. "Lily," she'd say, "it's like clockwork. Around 3 a.m., my eyes just snap open. And then, no matter how much I toss and turn, how many deep breaths I take, sleep just seems to vanish like a morning mist." Hearing Eleanor's ongoing struggle truly touched me, and it made me want to delve a little deeper into this perplexing phenomenon, not just for my dear Eleanor, but for all of you who might be lying awake in the dark, wondering why your sleep has taken this unwelcome turn. It turns out, this early morning awakening is actually far more common among us as we age than we might realize, and there are some very real, scientifically understood reasons behind it. So, let's settle in, perhaps with a warm cup of tea just like mine, and explore some of these reasons through Eleanor's personal journey, drawing on some insightful research along the way, so that we might all find some helpful paths towards more restful nights. Reason 1. The gentle but significant decline of our natural sleep signal, melatonin. Eleanor has been reflecting on her sleep patterns over the years, and she's noticed a gradual shift. She used to be one of those fortunate souls who could sleep soundly through the night, waking up refreshed with the morning sun. But in recent times, she describes her sleep as feeling lighter, more fragile, and she finds herself waking up much more easily, especially in those early morning hours. This immediately brought the hormone melatonin to my mind. Now, melatonin is a truly fascinating substance, a natural hormone that our brains produce, acting like our body's own internal sleep signal, gently whispering to us that it's time to wind down, to dim the lights, and prepare for the restorative embrace of sleep. When our melatonin levels are at their optimal balance, we tend to drift off to sleep with greater ease and enjoy a deeper, more sustained sleep throughout the night. However, as the precious years accumulate, our bodies, in their intricate wisdom, naturally begin to produce less of this vital hormone. This isn't something we can consciously control or influence. It's a natural facet of the aging process, often becoming more apparent and impactful in our 60s and 70s, precisely the stage of life Eleanor is currently navigating. By this time, the amount of melatonin our bodies synthesize can be significantly reduced compared to our younger years, making it considerably more challenging to maintain that deep, uninterrupted sleep that carries us through the night. This very change is frequently a primary culprit behind those frustrating early morning awakenings, like Eleanor's persistent 3 a.m. encounter with wide-eyed wakefulness. Compelling studies in the field of sleep research have shed light on this phenomenon. For instance, research has indicated that melatonin production in individuals over the age of 60 can be significantly reduced compared to younger adults. This decrease often leads to waking up during those early morning hours when melatonin levels simply become too low to sustain that deep, restorative sleep state. Eleanor has also become more aware of the subtle light in her bedroom during the night. She's noticed that even the faint glow from her digital alarm clock or the soft illumination from a street lamp filtering through her curtains seems to disturb her sleep more than it ever did before. And it turns out, even these seemingly insignificant amounts of light can indeed suppress the production of melatonin in our brains. This sensitivity to light can become even more pronounced as we age, further exacerbating the challenge of staying asleep in the early hours of the morning. For Eleanor, and indeed for all of us who might be experiencing this, there are some gentle and helpful ways to manage this natural melatonin decline. One simple yet effective approach is to prioritize getting ample exposure to natural sunlight during the day, especially in the morning hours. This helps to regulate our body's intricate internal clock, our circadian rhythm, and can actually improve melatonin production when night falls. Eleanor has made a conscious effort to spend some time in her garden each morning, soaking in the gentle sunlight. Additionally, being mindful of our screen time in the hours leading up to bed is crucial. The blue light emitted by our televisions, smartphones, and tablets can interfere with melatonin production, so avoiding these for at least an hour before we plan to sleep can make a noticeable difference. Finally, Eleanor has had a thoughtful conversation with her doctor about the potential benefits of a low-dose melatonin supplement. While it's not a one-size-fits-all solution, and it's absolutely vital to seek professional medical advice before starting any supplements, it might be a helpful option for some in restoring healthier sleep patterns. Reason 2. Our internal clock ticking to a slightly earlier tune. Advanced sleep phase. Eleanor has also shared that she often finds herself feeling overwhelmingly sleepy quite early in the evening, sometimes as early as 8 or 9 p.m. This observation immediately brought to mind the concept of our body's remarkable internal timekeeper, our circadian rhythm. This intricate biological clock beautifully orchestrates our sleep-wake cycles, dictating when we feel alert and when we feel the gentle pull of sleep, typically aligning itself with the natural progression of daylight and darkness. But as we gracefully age, this internal clock can sometimes undergo a subtle but significant shift forward in its timing, a phenomenon known as advanced sleep phase. This forward shift can lead older adults to experience feelings of sleepiness earlier in the evening than they're accustomed to and, as a direct consequence, to wake up earlier in the morning, often around that persistent 3 a.m. mark that Eleanor has been encountering. This shift isn't merely a matter of changing habits, it's often rooted in the fundamental biology of our aging bodies. As we get older, the complex signals that regulate our circadian rhythm can become more sensitive to external cues, particularly light, which can contribute to this gradual forward shift in our sleep-wake timing. Research in sleep science indicates that this natural shift often begins to manifest as early as our 40s and can become more pronounced and noticeable in our later years due to changes in the brain's sleep-regulating chemicals. This can lead individuals to feel sleepy earlier in the evening and, predictably, to awaken earlier in the morning, often settling around that consistent 3 a.m. time frame. Eleanor, having embraced the joys of retirement a few years ago, now enjoys a more flexible and relaxed daily schedule. Without the structured demands of a working life, the external time cues that once helped to anchor her circadian rhythm are less prominent. This can inadvertently allow her natural inclination to go to bed earlier to become more pronounced, further contributing to those unwelcome early morning awakenings. To gently help manage these natural shifts in our internal clock, Eleanor has been experimenting with a few strategies. She's making a conscious effort to engage in slightly more stimulating yet relaxing activities in the evenings, perhaps enjoying a quiet movie with a cup of herbal tea or delving into a captivating book in a softly lit room. Ensuring she gets ample bright light exposure in the morning, perhaps by sitting near a sunny window while savoring her breakfast, can also send a powerful signal to her body that it is indeed daytime and time to be awake and alert. And we've had thoughtful discussions about the importance of trying to maintain a consistent sleep schedule, aiming to go to bed and wake up around the same time each day, even on those wonderfully unstructured weekends, to help her body's internal clock find a more comfortable and sustainable rhythm. Reason 3. The gentle but persistent whispers of discomfort, physical aches, and underlying health issues. Eleanor has also been experiencing a bit more discomfort with her joints and muscles lately, particularly in the quiet hours of the early morning. As we age, it's a common reality that we might contend with various physical conditions, such as the persistent aches of arthritis, the occasional twinges of muscle pain, or even digestive issues like a touch of nighttime acid reflux, all of which can certainly act as unwelcome intruders, disrupting our precious and much-needed sleep. These physical discomforts can often feel more pronounced and intrusive during the night when our bodies are at rest and less distracted by daytime activities, and they can undoubtedly contribute to those frustrating early morning awakenings, making it challenging to find a comfortable position and drift back into slumber. It's well established that chronic conditions like arthritis, persistent back pain, or even the frequent need to urinate due to bladder issues can become significantly more noticeable during the night, making it difficult to remain in one sleeping position for extended periods without experiencing discomfort that leads to waking up. Eleanor has described waking up feeling a bit stiff and achy in her hips and knees, and that very discomfort makes it incredibly difficult for her to find a comfortable position that would allow her to drift back to sleep at 3 a.m. To thoughtfully help manage these nighttime discomforts and promote more restful sleep, Eleanor is focusing on creating a sleep environment that is as supportive and comfortable as possible. She has recently invested in a high-quality supportive mattress and pillows that are specifically designed to relieve pressure points and cradle her body gently. She's also being more mindful of her fluid intake in the hours leading up to bedtime to try and minimize those disruptive nighttime trips to the bathroom. And, of course, she maintains regular and open communication with her trusted doctor about managing her ongoing joint pain and any other underlying health concerns that might be subtly or directly affecting her sleep patterns. Remember, a proactive conversation with our healthcare provider is always such a valuable step in addressing these challenges. Reason 4. The quieter rhythm of our days. Subtle shifts in our lifestyle habits with Sun's support. Since embracing the well-deserved joys of retirement a few years ago, Eleanor's daily routine has naturally adopted a more relaxed and less structured pace. And while this newfound freedom is certainly a blessing, these gradual shifts in our daily habits can sometimes have an unexpected influence on our delicate sleep-wake patterns. Without the once familiar time cues of a demanding work schedule or a bustling social calendar, our body's innate circadian rhythm might subtly adjust, sometimes leading to those earlier bedtimes and, as a natural consequence, those earlier wake-up times, such as Eleanor's consistent 3 a.m. awakening. Sleep specialists often note that with less external demands and less intense external stimulation, many older adults find that their bodies naturally begin to wind down and feel ready for sleep earlier in the evening. This gentler, less structured rhythm of the day can subtly influence the body's internal clock, gradually nudging it towards an earlier bedtime, and therefore, an earlier time of waking. Eleanor, for instance, often enjoys a light and early dinner, and then settles into a quiet evening of reading or gentle hobbies. While these activities are certainly relaxing, this consistent routine might be inadvertently signaling her body that it is time for sleep much earlier in the evening than it was during her working years. Interestingly, her son, David, noticed this pattern during his visits. He realized that his mother's quiet evenings might be contributing to her early wake-ups. To thoughtfully help adjust to this quieter pace of life and potentially nudge her wake-up time a little later into the morning, David has been wonderfully supportive. He started making it a point to call Eleanor around 8 p.m. each evening for a longer chat, catching up on her day and sharing stories about his own. These engaging conversations not only bring joy to Eleanor, but also help to keep her mentally stimulated a little later into the evening. He also encourages her to join him for a short walk after her early dinner on some evenings, getting her moving and adding a bit more activity to her later part of the day. The idea is to gently signal to her body that the evening is still a time for wakefulness and gentle activity, rather than the immediate prelude to deep sleep. Reason 5. The stillness amplifies our inner world. Emotional and psychological restlessness with daughter's comfort. Finally, Eleanor has also confided that sometimes when she wakes up at 3 a.m., her mind becomes a whirlwind of thoughts and feelings. As we age, Emotional and psychological factors, such as feelings of loneliness, the quiet grief of missing loved ones, or the gentle anxieties that can sometimes accompany later life, can surface more powerfully during the quiet and stillness of the night when the usual daytime distractions and activities are absent. This can be particularly true for those who might experience fewer social interactions or less external engagement during the day. It is understood that the profound stillness of the night can often amplify any unresolved feelings, lingering worries, or cherished memories, leading to a state of restless sleep and those unwelcome early awakenings. Eleanor, having experienced the deep loss of her beloved husband a few years ago, sometimes finds that the quiet of the pre-dawn hours brings those precious memories and the accompanying feelings of loss and longing to the forefront of her mind, making it challenging for her to find the inner peace needed to drift back to sleep. Her daughter, Sarah, has been a tremendous source of comfort during these times. To thoughtfully help manage this emotional restlessness and promote a more peaceful night's rest, Sarah has been incredibly supportive. She makes it a regular practice to visit Eleanor a couple of times a week in the late afternoon or early evening. During these visits, they often look through old photo albums together, sharing stories and reminiscing about happy times. Sarah also encourages her mother to write down her feelings in a journal before bed, a practice that Eleanor has found surprisingly helpful in releasing some of the emotional weight she carries. Furthermore, Sarah often stays for a quiet cup of tea and gentle conversation before Eleanor goes to bed, creating a sense of calm and connection that helps to ease her into sleep and provides a comforting presence should she wake up during the night. So, my dears, as we've thoughtfully explored through Eleanor's personal journey, that persistent waking up at 3 a.m. is often a complex issue with a multitude of potential contributing factors, many of which are indeed natural aspects of our aging process. By gently understanding these underlying reasons and thoughtfully considering some adjustments to our daily routines, our sleep environments, and our overall well-being, much like my dear Eleanor is bravely trying, we can often find meaningful ways to improve our sleep quality and embrace more restful nights. Thank you so much for spending this valuable time with me today, allowing me to share Eleanor's story and these hopefully helpful insights. If you found this video to be comforting, informative, or perhaps even a little illuminating, please do give it a gentle thumbs up. Subscribe to our Dear Grandma channel for more heartfelt guidance and unwavering support. And share it with anyone in your life who might also be experiencing those frustrating early morning wake-ups. Do feel free to share your own experiences or any helpful tips that have worked for you in the comments below. Your wisdom and shared experiences are always so valued. Until our next comforting chat, please take the very best care of yourselves, and may your nights be filled with peaceful and restorative sleep.